I want to welcome you to tonight's lecture. Thank you very much for being here. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome our speaker tonight. My name is Jack Hollinger, and I'm actually responsible for overseeing the Doctor of Ministry program at Emmanuel. And this week, we've had a Doctor of Ministry class taking place taught by Dr. Detweiler on theology and cinema. And as Dr. Kinnison pointed out, we wanted to be sure and get our money's worth out of it. And so we've asked him also to speak tonight. We wanted to be able to share him and his expertise with this community. And just based on walking past their classroom during the day, something good is happening in that room, because there's a lot of laughing and a lot of energy coming out the door. So we're really glad to have him. Dr. Detweiler is a professor of communication and director of the Center for Entertainment, Media, and Culture at Pepperdine University. He also wanted me to mention that he's from Charlotte, North Carolina, so go Panthers. Go Panthers. He's been on this part of the country. He's authored a number of books, screenplays. He's an award-winning filmmaker. He's appeared on CNN, NPR, the New York Times. And this is helpful, it was to me, when you Google Craig Detweiler, because you're going to introduce him that night, he's listed on the Internet Movie Database. My brush with fame. His newest book is iGods, How Technology Shapes Our Spiritual and Social Lives. He also edited the first book on theology and video games titled Halos and Avatars, Playing Video Games with God. And he's the author of Into the Dark, Seeing the Sacred in the Top Films of the 21st Century. And that's a lot of what he's been talking about with our Doctor of Ministry students this week. Dr. Detweiler has a Master of Fine Arts from the University of South Carolina's acclaimed film school. Southern California, I'm sorry. I say South. I've been here too long. Southern California. He has an MDiv from Fuller and a PhD from Fuller Theological Seminary. We had to get together Tuesday night with our faculty and Dr. Detweiler, and if you can keep a room full of seminary faculty completely engaged and focused for an hour-long conversation, you got something important to say. So we're delighted to have him here with us. Welcome, Dr. Detweiler.
All right. Simple question. Has God ever spoken to you through pop culture? A movie, a song, a show. Maybe you're just like riding in the car, you're just kind of not even paying attention, and suddenly, Carrie Underwood says, Jesus, take the wheel, and you're just like, yes, Lord. Yes. Take it, right? Or Kanye West comes in and says, Jesus walks, and you're like, I didn't know. Does that happen with Kanye? Can it happen with me? Right? Tonight, we're going to consider this question and be intrigued by answers that you may have for each other and for us as a community. So this is going to be an interactive kind of thing. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to expect some feedback, and we're going to go have some fun. So let's just start with this question, right? Just take, 2 minutes with, 2 people or 3 people and answer this question. Has God ever spoken to you through a movie, a song, a show? What do you think? Go. What do we got? What do we got? Who's got something? Just shout it out. We're friends. Moana. 2 of you from Moana. What else? Don't be. Elephant Man. The Broadway show or the movie? All right, maybe both. Yeah, Elephant Man. Interesting, okay. What else? Who else? You can raise your hand or whatever. Yeah. Lion. Not the Lion King. You're talking about Lion. Yeah, the movie that came out set in India. Powerful film. Who's seen Lion? All right. What do you think? Recommended? Yeah. All right. Keep going. Who else? Yes.
The Shack.
The Shack. My friend who produced it and my friend who directed it and my student who co-wrote it are grateful for that answer. And they thank you for your box office money too. What else? Who else? Hamilton. My daughter saw it this week. She's a freshman at Northwestern, and the president bought tickets for all the freshmen to go see it. No pressure here. I'm not saying, but I'm saying that's what happened this week. I haven't seen it, but she saw it. Who else? Who else? The Road? Oh, nice. Cormac McCarthy. Yeah. That's some serious stuff. Are you a serious person? I think you might be. Hacksaw Ridge. Who said that? Yes, sir. Hacksaw. I spoke to the producer of that, Terry Benedict. I was on the phone with him yesterday. Guess what state he lives in? Tennessee. That is a homegrown movie to some degree. Hacksaw Ridge. Beautiful. I just tried to guess, right? There's all kinds of weird possibilities, right? I mean, if God can speak through talking donkeys, then he can certainly speak through Jim Carrey, right? A sort of form of talking donkey. Maybe the Passion of the Christ, right? That one's too obvious maybe for you. How about The Blind Side, right? Is that a Tennessee story? Isn't it? Yeah. Did you hear that? She just went, oh, yes. This is a film, right, that when TNT finishes with the NBA playoffs, this is all they play. Right? It's just on permanent loop. Right. There's no guy who doesn't stop when this is on and just go, yes. Yes, I'm just going to watch the rest of this. What's this from? Green Mile. Green Mile. What does that one have to do with this one? Stephen King, that famous Christian author, Stephen King. Making these stories about guys whose names are like John Coffey, who then takes on the suffering of others and is wrongly and innocently convicted of a crime he didn't commit and has to walk a green mile or a Via Dolorosa or whatever you want to call that thing. Fascinating. For me, it was the feel-good film Raging Bull. Just a little true life story about boxer Jake LaMotta and how he systematically ruins his relationships with his brother, with his wife, and even with himself, and ends up as the middleweight boxing champ. By the end of the film, he's in a jail cell, beating his head against the wall, saying, why? I am not an animal. And I saw that as a senior in high school, and I was like, I think that might be the path I'm on. I'm a kind of angry kid. I like sports, and I like hurting people. I even kind of like when I'm hurt. It kind of feels good. And so I resonated with this character. And after 2 hours of a profane, R-rated, violent film, the screen fades to black, and on screen it says, all I know is this, once I was blind, and now I can see. I didn't know what that meant. It didn't even say where it came from. But this film about blindness challenged me to go on a journey of seeing. And that's the power of story. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. What I do in my work is try to give words to what I've experienced. So, right, you've heard or had a deeply spiritual experience through a violent film like Hacksaw Ridge, or a strange David Lynch film like Elephant Man, or something like The Shack, right, where Octavia Spencer is God and the Holy Spirit is an Asian woman. And you're like, I don't know what this means. Help me, God. This is kind of what I have done as a result. I've tried to say, God is speaking to me through unlikely means. Now, how does that work? And what does that mean? So I've decided to reverse the hermeneutic. Rather than saying, well, this is what I know of God, and therefore when I bring this into the movies, I know what I'm going to hear because this is the only thing God can say and this is the only form God can take. I've instead tried to say, why don't I just watch the film, see what it has to say, be open to being moved and surprised even by the Spirit, and then bring the Scripture back into it and say, now what does this mean? And how does this square with my experience of God? And maybe I'll get hidden parts of Scripture like Ecclesiastes that I haven't thought about, or Job might make more sense to me as a result of this experience. It's what Paul did on Mars Hill. He literally looked at people's art in the public square and said, you know that thing to the unknown God? You know that wisdom literature that you talk about? You know that poetry that you quote from all the time? This thing you're seeking has a particular name revealed in Scripture, right? His name is Yahweh, this God you are seeking. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying this spiritual search in film that's manifesting itself in all these strange kinds of ways that you just identified, right? This has a name, right? So the general revelation of art might then open up spiritual and special revelation of Scripture in new and surprising ways. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Does that sound all right? You don't have to buy this, but just for like the next, hour. And then you can throw it away. But for the next hour, we're going to try this. So I've done this with video games, I've done this with technology, and I've done this with film. So we're going to do what I did in this book. I said, you know what? For my doctoral thesis at Fuller Seminary, I need to study something. And I said, I'm interested in young people. I'm interested in what's going on. I'm going to look at what are the most important films of the 21st century, the things you've watched and you've cared about and that has moved you. Now, where do I find that? That's not the Academy Award list. I'm not even sure that's the box office list. That's a different kind of list. And so I went to our friend, the Internet Movie Database. And I said, here's an aggregated version of film fans and film lovers around the world. There's nobody in charge of editing it. Anybody can vote. And I said, I'm going to just see what they think are the top 250 films of all time. And once I look at that list, I'm going to just take the films from the last decade and try to figure out what might God be saying to and through those films. Why do these truly moving pictures stir up something within us? So that's what we're going to do tonight, is kind of go through this process together. So, here's my question, first question, just off the top of your head. What do you think are the films on this list, right? Look at number one. What's number one? Shawshank. You actually already kind of said that, right? You were like, yeah, Shawshank. Yeah, I cry every time, right? He goes out and goes through the mud and the grime of life, and he comes out and he says yes, and then the rain falls on him, and it's like this baptism, and he's cleansed, and it's beautiful. So here's the list. Here's the list. What is the new canon? This list is old. What do you think in just like the last 2 or 3 years? What films do you think are on this list? What do you think? What'd you say? Star Wars is on this list. Right? Can I get a what for A Force Awakens? Yeah, who already bought their tickets for December, right? Somebody out there. No, you didn't? It's probably already sold out. You better buy those tickets. There's a man who will admit it. Yes. He bought his tickets this week. I'll be there with you. I guess it'll just be the two of us because nobody else seems to have bought their tickets. Oh, your daughter made you. Yeah, blame her. You didn't really want to go. She made you. I believe you. Yeah. Star Wars is on the list. You're right. What else? Who else? What do you think? Think about the films that you just love. Interstellar. Interstellar is on the list. Interstellar is on the list. Of course it is. What else? Avengers. Avengers is on the list. Of course it is. You love Avengers. Avengers 2? Not on the list. It was bad. It was really, really bad. But Avengers 1 was really, really good. What else? Frozen. It should be on the list. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Who would hate Frozen, right? We have to hate the people who hate Frozen. It's like 1 million people gave it a 10, and then like 10 cranky people gave it a 0 and just ruined it. I don't know. There's Oscar winners, as you might expect, right? These are powerful films. Really powerful films. Room. You may not have seen it, but what a powerful performance. What a tough, tough story. How about this one? Yeah. Where's that one set? Is it Tennessee? Maybe it's Atlanta. Yeah. What's this? Whiplash. How many of you have seen this? One person, and what'd he say? What's that? Look at that! See, all 12 people who loved it, who saw it, loved it. No, this is a beautiful movie. Powerful Iranian film. Right, I heard of what, yeah. Swoon, right? Really, she just threw up on Ryan Gosling? You can't do that. Whoops. And Inside Out. Inside Out's on the list, but Frozen isn't. What's wrong with this world? Nailed it. Dark Knight Rises. Who saw Logan? How good was this? It was amazing. That's exactly right. Yes, this is my 18-year-old daughter's favorite film of all time. This is girl power turned up to 11. Oh, I did love that, didn't I? Nailed it. Nailed it. And from this year, Dunkirk. Masterpiece. Complete masterpiece. And this one showed up this week. Again, all 12 people who saw it loved it. The rest of you are like, it's 3 hours long. I can't do it. It's too long. We don't have that much time. Isn't that interesting? You kind of had a gut feeling about some of these things, didn't you? You actually did. So what I want to do is take you back to my research, which started 10 years ago. Started in the year 2006, 7, and 8. And this was the list at the time. Out of the top 250, right, so it goes up to 182, these were the, I think, 48 films or something on that list. And this is what I studied. I just said I'm going to watch every one of these, right? You can get a PhD for this, by the way. You watch 48 films, and then you think about them, and then you write a book. That's what I did. So here's my assignment and challenge for you. Join with, if you were only like 2 people or 3 people, just join with maybe 3, 4, 5 people, 6 people, whatever. Enough people where you can say, like, somebody up here must have seen one of those or knows what it is. And I want you to just look and talk about this list. What is on this list? What kind of genres are on this list? What kind of issues are central to these films? What are these films about? What are they dealing with? What are they suggesting? What are they telling us about who we are, about our situation, all right? So just be cultural observers and just dig into this list, find some other people, and go for it. Don't sit alone. If you see somebody sitting alone, drag them into your group and say, join us, all right? So just take like 5, 6 minutes and identify all the issues you can. What are the 2, 3, 4 big issues you see? All right, what do we got? What do you got? I'll be your scribe. I'm going to scribe for all 100 of you. All right, so here we go. Y'all just shout it out. What do you see? Revenge. Isn't it delicious? Revenge. I'm going to get revenge on this lousy pen. Revenge. Keep going. What else? Violence. I saw a little. I saw a little violence, yeah. What'd you say? Genocide. Hey, you know, it's so fun. I love that in a film, right? Genocide, revenge. Man, that's me. I can't wait, you know? What'd you say? Creativity. Keep going. What'd you say? Underdog. Very nice. Very nice. Underdog. Keep going. Finding yourself. Good. Finding yourself. Actually, I'll do this. Finding yourself. We'll go with genocide here. Keep going. Adventure. Yeah, who loves a good adventure, right? Adventure. Keep going. Emotional. What kind of emotion? Catharsis. That's such a good college word. For those of us who aren't theater majors, what do you mean? Releasing of your emotions, yes. Release. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's a better high school word. Let's go to high school words. We're talking about movies. Let's go to high school words. What else? Race. What'd you say? Race. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of films about race. Yep. Keep going. Freedom. Is that what you said? Freedom. I think that goes with release, doesn't it? Keep going. Family, for sure. Identity. Conflict with the law. What do you mean? Are you trying to say crime? I'm just going to say crime. Conflict with the authorities. I'm in a seminary class. You mean there's like robbing and stealing and killing, right? It's the movies. Come on. Heroes. Absolutely. Heroes. Good. Survival. Yes. Did I hear war? Yeah, I heard war. Actually, anything? What'd you say? Hope and aspiration. That's nice. Hope and aspiration. Lovely. Acceptance. That's a lovely word. Yeah, maybe two more. What'd you say? Wealth? Wealth. Or we could just say clocking mad dollars. But that would be so like 90s or something, right? Wealth. What'd you say? Failed heroes. There's some failure up there. Yeah. Good. Justice. Justice. Excellent. That's a pretty rich list, don't you think? Y'all did a good job. I mean, I'll give you a hand. Like at least like an A-, right? Maybe even more. That was excellent. Some really good work. I kind of put them into, I'm going to say three-ish kind of categories as you threw them out, right? Because there's kind of a big gap between, say, crime and heroes, right? Not exactly the same thing. Genocide, war, justice, these kind of go together as well, I think. And that's kind of what I did. I did the same thing. I watched these 48 films, and then I was like, okay, what is it I'm seeing? And I kind of think I probably saw similar things to you. So having seen that, now as a film critic type of person, it's like, well, what is that? Like what genre is that? What style is that? And where do these films fit within those categories? You see all this stuff over here? What is it? Revenge, violence, crime, money. That's film noir. That's film noir, right? Gangsters, private eyes, murder mysteries, lowlifes, kind of the back streets, the hidden side, the ugly side of the world. When you buy a ticket to a film called Sin City, where do you think the film's going to take you? Right? Isn't that fun? Like on a Friday night, you're just like, I'd like to go to Sin City, please. They're like $10. You're like, fantastic. It's the best $10 I've ever spent. Sounds great. What happens in these film noirs? And there's a bunch of them on the list, right? Pulp Fiction wasn't on that list, but it is on that list. It's in the top 10 of all time. And I think to some degree the films on that list are dealing with the Tarantino effect. He kind of made crime look really cool and really fun, and violence look like really kind of stylistic. And so these are some of those films, right? Requiem for a Dream, what's this about? Anybody know? Drug dealers, yeah. This film, and addiction. This film is so intense, they didn't give it an R rating. They were like, no, it needs to be NC-17. I don't think anybody under 17 should see a film about drug abuse and addiction. Now, it seems like we might have a little drug opioid problem. And so maybe if more of those under 17-year-olds were allowed to see this film, maybe they would have seen the wages of sin expressed in this film. Snatch, what's this one about? Crime, right? Theft. Anybody seen this one? This is a Mexican version of Pulp Fiction. They took all the Pulp Fiction issues and they kind of put it in a Mexican blender. It's very fun. Super fun film. City of God. Anybody seen this one? Where's this one set? Yeah, favelas of Brazil. This is Tarantino in Brazil. That's what this is. Crime film. Tough picture. How about this one? Anybody seen this one? Nobody's seen it. Good for you. This film is ugly. Super ugly. Super harsh. It's a revenge picture of a guy who's been locked in a cell. And when he gets out, he basically looks like he might take up what is that weapon he has? A hammer. I'm just going to take a hammer and beat people with it. Does that sound like entertainment? And yet, what's it say? It won the grand prize at the Cannes Film Festival for being like the most excellent film. Guess who was the judge, the lead judge that year at Cannes? Tarantino was like, I love what the Koreans are doing. I love how they take my themes and express them. Anybody seen Infernal Affairs? Super obscure, these kinds of films. This is a Chinese gangster film, right? So it's like we've had the Mexican one, the Brazilian one, the Korean one, and here's the Chinese one. This one is so good that America decided to remake it. It's about two brothers, one who's a cop and one who is a gangster. What film did that become? The Departed, which won the Oscar, is a direct remake of Infernal Affairs. Scorsese just made sure it was even darker and more depressing. But it ends the same way, up on the roof, brother against brother. And of course, the feel-good film of them all, Kill Bill. Who's seen Kill Bill? 3 people will admit it. Thank you very much. And since then, Tarantino's added 2 more films on the list, right? Tarantino, every film he makes, everybody's just like, yes, that's one of the greatest films of all time. I watch it over and over. I love the killing. I love the blood. I love the revenge. Which director has more films on that list than anybody else? Christopher Nolan is the right answer. Where is it? Hold on. There it is. Christopher Nolan has more films on that list than anybody else. That's interesting. Anybody seen Memento? What's it about? A guy who lost his memory and doesn't know what to do. Are there a lot of trustworthy people in his life? There's not one trustworthy person in this film, right? The woman lies to him when she realizes, oh, he doesn't remember what I said 5 minutes ago. I can use a guy like that. What's he do to try to save his memory? He leaves clues. Where does he leave the clues? On his body. He's got such memory problems. He's like, you know what? If I just write a tattoo on my arm, maybe I'll remember what it is I'm supposed to be doing. That's a pretty intense memory device. He also takes Polaroids, writes notes on them, and he has stories that he wants to remember. Literally, he says, remember Sammy Jenkins. And of course, the story in the film is fascinating. I don't want to give away too much. The Polaroids change, and by the end of the film, people he's trusted, right, turn on him like Teddy. And so Leonard says, Teddy, I'm not a killer, I'm just someone who wanted to make things right. Can't I just let myself forget what you've told me? Can't I just let myself forget what you've made me do? Will I lie to myself to be happy? In your case, Teddy, yes, I will. This is a film about our endless capacity for self-deception. I will literally lie to myself if it makes me feel better. Wow, that's some heavy sin, right? He's going to justify murder, all kinds of things. And that's Christopher Nolan. This was his first big film. Almost every film he's done is about that duplicity within our lives. Think about his films. Anybody seen this one? One person. This is his first film. He made this when he was just like 22 years old. He shot it on the weekends. It's a film about a thief who is outraged when he discovers that somebody is stealing from him. He's like, man, I don't know who to trust anymore. People are awful. Anybody seen this one? Right? Brothers, magicians, playing tricks on each other. Duplicity, duplicity, duplicity. How about this one? He doesn't have that many issues, right? No, he's fine. He's fine. He's got a few bats rolling around in his head, but other than that, he's fine. The Dark Knight. How far will he go to get his man? Will he sacrifice his own principles for the sake of pursuing justice? This film is one of the 10 best films of all time, according to the internet. Anybody agree with me on that? Right? This buff guy right here, dude, this literal buff dude says yes. I agree. And here's this interrogation room where they're kind of facing off with each other. And it's sort of like the Joker's playing with him, right? How much are you willing to do to get what you want, Bruce Wayne, Batman? And look at the posters. Literally double-minded, double-faced. Wait, what's that character's name? Two-Face. Same themes in Nolan's films over and over and over again. Look at the picture. Look at the poster. Is Batman a hero or a villain? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Does he have standards or will he let them go? And then Inception. What's this picture about? The lies that we plant in our brains, in each other's brains. The tricks we play on each other. The mind games that we play. Leonardo DiCaprio says, you keep telling yourself what you know, but what do you believe? What do you feel? One word, guilt. Guilt. And that haunting ending, right? Christopher Nolan, he is the master of this thing of revenge and violence and crime. But at the center of all his films is the question of what? The I word. Identity. Who are you really? How self-deceived are you? Are you willing to compromise your principles for the sake of some other victory? That's column 1. You ready for column 2? Let's see what we got. Here's the problem of identity right there, right? So who am I? Where did I come from? Being divided against ourselves, our endless capacity for self-deception. That's a really interesting theme that I think your generation is super interested in. Isn't that what social media is about to some degree? Putting yourself out there. Who am I? Do people like my selfie? Should I change my look? Fascinating. Even films like Eternal Sunshine. What happens in this one? They literally want to lose their memories because the memories are too painful. The risk of love isn't worth it. They want to wipe out their past. They literally obliterate their memories because they don't want to deal with it. There's a few films about love, but very few on the list. Did you put love on this? You didn't put it up there. That's interesting, isn't it? We love a good love story, and yet there's very few that we believe in. Maybe because Hollywood's made it look too easy. We're like, nah, life doesn't work like that. So who do you trust in time when you're not sure of your own identity, let alone another person? Juno struggling with her identity and bringing another life into the world. Slumdog Millionaire, right? He's seen as nobody, and yet the film says, no, maybe he is somebody. There's that unknown, unlikely hero story that you were talking about. And Into the Wild, he literally leaves all of his family and friends to go and do what? Find himself. Going to find himself. All right, so that's the first. That's the question of identity. What's in this middle section here? Can you see what it says? Family, race, genocide, freedom, release, failure, survival, war. What are these films about? They're not just about who I am, but they're about what? Who are we? Who are we? Any issues in the country right now about who we are? I don't know. I haven't seen the news today. But yesterday, it seemed like that was a big question. Who are we going to be? And so these ensemble dramas is the other big group that I saw up there. And they're dealing with the problem of community and how to deal with differences. And can we learn to live together? And what to do with the other, with people who aren't like me. And what are some of those films on the list? Did you notice? Little Miss Sunshine. Where's the first big test of community? In my crazy family. When we get in the room together and we're like, I don't think I'm related to these people, right? I can't be related to these people. These people are crazy, and I'm not. And yet there she is, Little Miss Sunshine, saying, can't we all get along? And the answer is, no, we can't. Particularly with the teenage son who's like, I'm out. I got to go. He hates everyone, which is how adolescence feels a lot of the time. And so he runs away from the family, splits from the family van, and yet Little Miss Sunshine says, you know what? Why don't you come back? Why don't you be part of this family? The first test, can we get along with each other in our families? And isn't it great at the end when she learns how to do that lovely, beautiful dance to Super Freak? And you just feel so much better, right? I don't know. I mean, we do the Super Freak dance in our family all the time. That's how we get through. Mystic River, super dark film about a community, about a neighborhood, and about three friends and what happens when one friend doesn't back up the other friends. What happens if that one friend gets molested and no one's there to protect him? What kind of guilt haunts these characters? Can you see what's on the back of Sean Penn? Maybe you can't. Hold on. There we go. What's on the back? A massive cross right on the back of his neck. This is a guy who is haunted, who wants forgiveness for how he abandoned his friends. How about this community? Right? They've got community. Are they loved by others in the community? Not so much. And what do these two films have in common? Don Cheadle, that's right. That is absolutely right. They have Don Cheadle in common. But what are they about? Somebody called it out, right? These are films about race. Films about how we deal with the other or how we don't deal with the other. How we try to take out the other. How many have seen Crash? Do you see Crash? Tough picture, right? You're literally coming face to face with the people who've abused you. The people who've misrepresented you. It's a Christmas story. It's set in LA, but you don't realize it's a Christmas story until the snow starts falling. And then you're like, wait, is that snow or are those ashes? Is this community on fire or is the grace of God coming down in the form of snow? Oscar winner. And Hotel Rwanda, who's seen that one? Is that a good film? Beautiful film, right? One person, Paul Russabanonga, making a difference, standing with the nuns in solidarity. His wife, right? And he, different tribes, Hutu and Tutsi, living together, trying to forge a real community. This section, I think, is somewhat, right, dealing with this question of war and genocide. We're sort of stuck with this history, right? Isn't that a lot of the tension going on in America? We're not sure how to deal with history. Having a little bit of arguments in the South about history, aren't we? What needs to be preserved, what needs to be let go of. We're not quite sure. So how do we deal with the past? How do we process pain? And can we rebuild? And can we imagine a future together? Gladiator is a history film. Yeah. But these are also history films, aren't they? What's he doing with these films? He's rewriting history, isn't he? These are revenge fantasies where you're trying to fix the past, right? I'm going to try to take out Hitler early, right? The slave who gets the revenge in Django for a change. Did you like Inglourious Bastards? Man, that was good. I loved all that killing. I loved killing Nazis. And yet what happens in Charlottesville? Oh, they're back on a college campus. History coming back. Ah, Django. Man, that was satisfying too, wasn't it? Jamie Foxx? Totally ruled. And yet, what's happening in our streets? What's happening to Philandro Castile in Minnesota, right? What's happening to Michael Brown in Ferguson? It works in the movies. It doesn't work in real life. And yet, this is the film that probably is his least popular of all time. Who's your favorite character in this group? None of them. This is the Hateful Eight. Everybody in this film is awful. And they're all awful towards each other. What day did this open? Christmas. This is Tarantino's Christmas film that came out when? Christmas 2016. This is his gift to us, just in time for election season. Or was it 2015? I think it was 2015. This is a direct reflection on who we are as people. He said we're a hate-filled people who are destroying each other. Nobody gets out alive in this film. And everybody was like, yeah, I don't really like that one. Can't we go back to the Nazis? Can't we go back to the Old West? 12 Years a Slave, dealing with history. Powerful. And who's seen that? Powerful film, right? Spotlight. Is this about community? It's about a community of reporters dealing with a church community where priests have been abusing people. And they got to deal with that painful history. Anybody seen The Pianist? How does he deal with being in the Holocaust? He deals with it via art and beauty. That's his solution. Letters from Iwo Jima. Clint Eastwood makes a film about what it was like to be the Japanese. What a beautiful gesture to try to restore some balance. And Hacksaw Ridge. How inspiring was Hacksaw Ridge? Beautiful picture. How about these last two on this group? Anybody seen this one? This is super obscure, right? Who's it about? Hitler. Yeah, dear old Hitler. It's a German film, and they take you inside the bunker with Hitler in his last days, and you realize, he like pets cats, and he has birthday parties. He's a really kind of nice guy. And you show that in Germany, and what do they think? That's a lie. He is a monster. He is not human. What does the film suggest? Oh, he's very human. And if you don't believe that he was capable of that, you don't understand that you're also capable of that. Anybody seen this one? This may be my favorite film on the entire list. Do you like this movie? Beautiful. It's about East Germany and how the Stasi agents are listening in to a couple, a subversive couple who do what? They write and direct and produce and act in plays. So it's about the East German communist government listening to artists. What happens to this East German agent as he sets up in their attic and listens in on their daily life? He's so overwhelmed by the beauty and authenticity of their life that it destroys his world. He starts weeping and feeling and caring and all the things he's been taught not to do. The beauty of their life reduces him to tears. I saw this film and I was like, if somebody was in my attic listening to my family, would they weep over the beauty or over something else? All right, so that's the second group. That's the second group. Last section Last section. Oh, finally, the good news. Thank you, Craig. We got there. Yes. Give me some hope. Give me some aspiration. Give me some creativity. Give me underdogs. Give me heroes. What's the most popular genre on this list by far? What can you as a generation not get enough of? What do you think? You love it. Harry Potter. It's only 500 pages. Great. Can't wait for the next one. Oh, it's 600 pages? Yes, give me 2. People thought you weren't readers. You're like, no, I read all 8 of them over. It's going to be all 7 of them over and over and over. Who doesn't love fantasy and sci-fi? Are there a couple Pixar fans out there? Yeah. You've probably seen every one of these films, right? You've seen Toy Story? Yes? You seen these guys? Yes? Yes? Yes! You love these movies! Yeah! You're going to eat your way through that movie. Yes! Bring them over to your house. Cook for me. Oh! I just showed the slide and you just teared up. How hungry are you for fantasy? You can't get enough. Yeah, let's just have a moment. Let's just. Andy, the toys, Buzz. It's a slide. You realize that. It's just a slide. Wally. And who's this? Eva. What's this film about? Got a big problem in space. World's kind of messed up, so they build a big spaceship, kind of like an ark. What's Eva carrying around in her? She's got this literal thing like in her stomach. What is it? Oh, it's a plant. It's like the gift of life. Yeah, Eva and the gift of life, trying to overcome the flood, the space. And here they are on the ruined earth. What are they going to do? They're going to rebuild. They're going to rebuild. Anybody seen this one? Yeah, like one person. This also came out on Christmas Day. It's a super dark sci-fi film about the Virgin Mary amidst the refugee crisis of the year 2116. And Joseph, who doesn't want to get involved. And what does Mary look like? She probably looks a lot like a refugee who has no place to lay her head. Isn't that the Christmas story? How about this one? Yeah! Note, this is Pirates 1, not Pirates 6, 7, or 8, which are all awful, right? Pirates 1. Now, there's nothing really spiritual about this, right? It's just fun, right? It's just pure fun. We love Johnny Depp. You'll love Johnny Depp? Pirates 1, we love Johnny Depp. Nothing spiritual about this, right? What's the subtitle of the film? What's it called? Curse of the Black Pearl. So what happens if you're cursed by the Black Pearl? You're like what? Like living dead or something, right? They're like zombies or, people with, skeletons with swords, right? Nothing really spiritual about this. How do you reverse the curse in the film? You need a blood sacrifice, right? From like an innocent man to reverse the curse and turn people from the dead into the living. But there's not really anything spiritual about it. This one's too strange. Who loves it? Yes, you are strange people, and so am I. You should get together afterwards. What's this film about? It's about a girl whose parents become pigs because they just gorge themselves through consumerism. I don't know why the Japanese would come up with a film like this. It's got a lot of strangeness. We'll just move on. What is her problem in the film? What's her problem? Her identity has been stolen. Somebody stole her name. She's cut off from her parents who became pigs, and now she doesn't know her name. She has to remember who she is. Identity. How about this one? That's spooky, right? Pan's Labyrinth. I don't even want to look at that. Get that off the screen. The scary pale man. It's also about a girl, right? Who goes on an adventure to kind of save her little brother, I think, right? And I think there's blood sacrifice involved. And yet, at the end of the film, I don't want to give away too much, but she's kind of ushered into this kind of heavenly kingdom where she appears before her mother and father who basically say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I don't really know what that has to do with Jesus or, the Bible. But anyway, that's what the film's about. And then this one, which we didn't see because our parents told us that this is of the devil, right? Don't go see Harry Potter because it's about wizards and that's devilish, right? That's bad. So what happens at the end? How's he overcome Voldemort? He kind of lays down his life, doesn't he? Yeah, kind of sacrifices his life, and then what happens? He's kind of lifted up to I don't know where. Some white place, some cloudy white place where this guy with a big long beard says what? "Good job, Harry, but I need you to do what? Go back down there and finish my job." And so he does. And he vanquishes evil once and for all. Voldemort, yes! Can I get a yes? He beat him! Harry beat him! Way to go, Harry! It took us 18,000 pages, but it was worth it! Yes! And so now we come to our conclusion. And this is my question to you now, right? Identity, community, and then this kind of history fantasy thing, right? I think the fantasy is in direct proportion to how intense this stuff is, right? As we see wars and injustice and race and problems we don't know how to solve, we're like, you know what, can I just get a little fantasy? That feels a little better, because this is too messy in the middle here, right? So I watched 48 films, I realized the same things that you did, and now I still have to write a book. Crap. How's this all connect to faith, right? I'm trying to get a PhD in theology and culture. How does this connect to faith? What do you think? What do you think? What does the Bible, if we're going to do our reverse hermeneutic, how does the Bible respond to the issues and the questions raised here? What do you think? I thought a long time about this. I mean, because with PhDs, you're allowed to take a year or 5. So I thought a long time about this. I think the normal thing, right, when we're going to do apologetics, we kind of say, well, what are God's answers to our questions, right? That's kind of how we've been trained to think. What are God's answers to our questions? And in a sense, these filmmakers are asking questions, right? Who am I? Who are we, right? Where are we headed? Is there hope? But here's the odd thing. I started to think about questions in the Bible. Who asked some really good questions? I went back to Genesis. I figured, well, I'll start at the beginning, right? Like a good film, you start at the beginning. You don't go to the end. Start at the beginning. What are God's original questions to us? What's the first question in the Bible? What's God say to Adam? Where are you? That's a pretty good identity question, right? Where are you? What's the second question he asks him? Why are you hiding? There were almost no films about love up there, but a lot of films about identity and about forgetting. Right? Why are you hiding? Why are you so scared? What is it that you're trying to cover up? What have you done that you might be embarrassed about, that you don't want to bring into the light of day? Core question of identity. Community. What's the next question that God asks in the Bible? Who's he ask a question of? It's like 3 chapters later. There's a couple of brothers, right? What's the question? Where is your brother? Where is your brother? Where's your brother in Little Miss Sunshine? Where is your brother in Hotel Rwanda? Where is your brother in Crash? What's the answer that comes back? He answers that question with a question. What, you looking at me? Right? You looking at me? Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? What's the answer to that question? Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. You are your brother's keeper. Community. Questions of community. One more. Fantasy. Where's the fantasy in the Bible? What do you think? We talked about Genesis. Where's the fantasy version? Isn't that Revelation? What's in Revelation? Anything, right? Crazy stuff, right? Like what's going on in Revelation? What do the streets look like? They're paved with gold, kind of like a Pixar movie, right? Kind of like Wizard of Oz. They're paved with gold. Yeah. What else? What are the trees like in heaven? What are the trees like in Revelation? What's it say they have? Magic leaves for the healing of the nations. Magic leaves. Golden cities, streets paved with gold. What's coming down the middle of it? Big old river of life. Just flowing, just clean and eternal. Woo! Where's Jesus? He's going to fly in on what? Maybe a white horse. Right? Wow, that's fantasy stuff, isn't it? Big, crazy, Pixar-like adventures. Yeah, right? It's kind of fun, huh? Isn't this interesting? Isn't this weird? Filmmakers have been asking, I think, the same questions that God's been asking of us. And maybe that's why you love them so much. Because they are fundamentally true about who we are as individuals, about our identity crisis, about who we are as a community, and whether we are actually caring for each other as brothers and sisters. And then what else? They skip over the Jesus part because they maybe don't understand that, but they understand that they want a happy ending. Most people, when do they think the story ends? How do they think the Bible ends? Lake of fire. Have we gotten that message out? I think they know that it all's going to burn and that they're going to burn with it. I think they all finish around Revelation 20. They've never read 21 or 22. They didn't know it was a happy ending. We've kept that one to ourselves, like private stock. What's the most popular film on this list? In fact, 3 of the top 5 are what? All hail to the Lord of the Rings and to Tolkien. Why do we love these stories so much? There's so much to love, right? What is it about? How are we going to get there? What's the job? What's the job? What's the guy supposed to do? God's going to take what? Big guy? Little tiny hobbit. Going to take a little tiny hobbit. What's the hobbit's job? What's he got to deliver? The ring. Any problem with the ring? What's it do to you? Kind of possesses you? Might mess you up in your head. You might end up looking like that. It's a pretty big temptation. I'm just saying you might lose your identity if you get a little too far down this road. How's he going to accomplish this task? He's a little guy. How's he going to get there? Can he do it alone? No, what's he need? He needs friends like Sam. You going to get there on your own? Can you resist temptation on your own? No, you cannot. You need Samwise Gamgee to back you up. Somebody to look out for you, to walk with you. Who else is going on that journey? How else are they going to get there? Who else is on the team? Who else? Got a bunch of hobbits, right? Pippin and Miffin and Mippy or whatever their names are, right? I need a wizard on my team. Can I get a wizard? Do we have a heavenly wizard on our side? Pretty much. Need some elves, right? Need the Lady of the Lake on my side. He looks a little like a Lady of the Lake. I love him, but he's a little too beautiful for me. Oh, I need these guys too. Who's this? Got to get some grungy dwarves involved, right? You need everybody. In fact, who else do you need? Oh yeah, I need a king with a sword, with a special name. How beautiful is this guy? Yes. And the last thing you need the trees on your side. Because if you're going to take on nature, you're going to lose. You need to work with the environment, not against the environment. That's what Tolkien knew in like 1942 or something, right? So you need this whole team. In fact, what do they call this whole team? What do you need to get there? You need a fellowship. You need a fellowship if you're going to get there. This is the shaping story for your generation. You love this story. It's your all-time favorite for the 21st century. And it says you can't get there alone. You can't resist temptation. You'll lose your identity unless you have community. That's the only way you're going to get to the golden city. In fact, it isn't even a golden city. Where are they trying to get to? The Shire. And what's in the Shire? Strawberries and beer. The world's greatest place. I said I'd be here 75 minutes. I got 2 minutes left. We have identity problems. We have community problems. How are we going to get there? We need a fellowship, right? Where do we gather together as a fellowship? What do we gather around? What's our mnemonic aid for our remembering problems? What does Jesus say? Do this in remembrance of me. We're sitting on the secret, folks. The filmmakers are asking all the right questions, the same interrogation of humanity that God offered. And Jesus has already given us the answer to our memory problems, to our identity problems. It comes from fellowship, and it comes from gathering around the bread and the wine. We're a forgetful people. But what happens at the end of the story in Revelation 22? Where do they gather? Around the table at a wedding banquet with Christ at the center. Praise God for that, huh? Can we praise God that we have this heavenly hope? When we see these Pixar films, when we see Lord of the Rings, right? That is heavenly longing fulfilled in Jesus. Praise God, right? The best films, the most important films are asking the most important questions, the ancient questions about who we are and whose we are and who we're supposed to be for each other. Can we do that? Can we be that? Thank God for Milligan, where you're working on this every day as a community, when you're working it out in Johnson City or Elizabethton. Model this stuff, right? Filmmakers are asking the questions. I thank God for the ways in which you are figuring out how to be the answer. Amen.